Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slain Hope. And I got another video. Another one of the 48 cuz. Nah, let me stop. But I got another law from the 48 laws of power. This one is law number 44. 44. Not 45, 44. Right? And this one is disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. The judgment says, the mirror reflects reality, but it is also the perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. The mirror effect mocks and humiliates them, making them overreact. By holding up a mirror to their psyches, you seduce them with the illusion that you share their values. By holding up a mirror to their actions, you teach them a lesson. Few can resist the power of the mirror effect. Now, this one is a very good one. Before I even get into my explanations, make sure you like, you share, and you subscribe to the channel if you like my content. That shouldn't be hard to do. Now, without further ado, let's get into it, right? Now, the mirror effect. This is one of the laws that I use myself personally, right? I love to teach lessons. I wish I didn't have to, but a lot of times we are going to engage with people who we gotta teach things to, and usually the hard way, unfortunately. So the mirror effect is something that I love to do. Not that I love to do, but I usually do it a lot, because a lot of times people don't really understand what they're doing to you until you show them a mirror, or you do to them what they're doing to you. Then that's the only time that they realize. Especially I use this law with women. Because a lot of times women don't take accountability for the things that they do. And when you point out to them that they're doing certain things, you know, they try to gaslight you or try to, like, you know, they never take accountability or to the things that you're pointing out to them that they're doing. So you're usually going to have to do it to them. For example, if somebody pinches you, right, and you try to explain to them how that feels, they don't really get it, right, until you pinch them back and they feel what you felt. Then they be like, oh, okay, that hurt. I ain't gonna do that no more. Right? But you get the point. So in the mirror effect, it has four realms, right? It got four main mirror effects in the realm of power, right? And the first one is the neutralizing effect. Now, the neutralizing effect is mainly doing what your enemies do. That's basically what you're doing. You're mimicking their every actions. You're doing what your enemies do. And by doing this, they can't really figure you out. See, because most people, when you come in contact with them, they're trying to figure you out. They're trying to figure out your movements. They're trying to figure out your patterns, your behavior, like, you know, how you move, what you do. You know, it's almost like when you got beef, right? And they got the thing called sitting on him. Like, I'm going to sit on him. I'm going to watch his moves, what time he get home, what time he go to work, what places he like to hang out at before you make your move, right? But when you move exactly how your enemy moves, right? Or when you do exactly what they do, right? Let's just talk about, not even in the hood terms, right? In a term where you're plotting on somebody, maybe within your own company or somebody that you work with, right? Because people do this all the time. If they're moving, when people are trying to read you and they can't read you because you're doing exactly the same thing they're doing, or they're mimicking you in a certain way, it's hard for you to kind of like figure out a strategy on how you're going to attack them or how you're going to move on them, because you cannot figure them out, right? So this is the neutralizing effect. So meaning you neutralize your opponent because they can't figure you out, because you're technically just doing the same thing they're doing, right? The other one is the narcissist, not narcissist, the narcissist effect, right? Now, this one is more of a mental thing. The one I just mentioned is a physical thing. This one is the mental aspect of it, meaning that you start to act as though you think like your opponent thinks, right? And they don't have to be an opponent. It don't got to be beef, but, you know, or whoever the person is that you're trying to, like, use the mirror effect on. You act like you think like them, right? Meaning that you create this sense of, damn, we think alike. We have the same ideals, right? This is kind of like what happens in love bombing. You meet a guy, you meet a woman, you meet a person who they start to reflect. They use the mirror effect. Oh, you like this? You like standing up to justice? You like prison reform? You like sports? I mentioned this in my other video, right? How women trick men into get into relationships with them. And so this is kind of like what happens. You basically feed you use the mirror on the mindset of people. So if a person is for gay rights, you'd be like, yeah, I'm for gay rights too. You're a feminist? Oh, I'm a feminist too. I kind of like, I believe in women's rights. Like, you start to kind of like reflect on them. You use the mirror and mirror their mindset and their ideals and what they like. And what this does is it disarms people, right? Because when people feel familiarity, when they feel like they can relate to you, when they feel like you think exactly how they think, this even creates some type of bonding, right? Which is why, like I said, love bombing. When you meet people who think like you, it's very hard to even meet people. It's very hard to even meet people who think like you. So when you actually meet people who are reflective in the thoughts like you kind of like bond. You kind of like this person. You start even feeling a little love, right? So you become disarmed by it, and yeah, we know once you disarmed, once your walls and your guard is down, anything is liable to happen to you, and you're not gonna even be able to see what this person is gonna do to you because they disarmed you already. They put up the front. So this is what this one is psychologically, right? Acting like you think like them to kind of like disarm them. The next one is the moral effect. Now the moral effect is kind of like a combination, right? But this one is more so like the pinching thing. I remember you making them feel what they made you feel, and this is something that I kind of like use. I don't like to use it, but a lot of times I have to use it to get my point across. So this one is more so like if somebody's acting unpleasant towards you, if somebody is acting, insufferable, if somebody is, just doing certain things to you, yes, you can just leave the situation, but sometimes you're trying to work with a person. Sometimes you're trying to like, they're not a bad person overall. Sometimes a person just can't see what they're doing to you, right? What is harming you, what is making you feel uncomfortable and unpleasant. So what you do is you do as they do to you, which I mentioned the pinching thing, right? Somebody pinches you, you pinch him. This moral effect, this one is also called the teacher's mirror, because you're teaching a lesson through it. So if somebody is snobby or rude with you, you kind of like be rude back to them to kind of like show them. If they disrespect you verbally, you kind of like do that to kind of like show them, right? Sometimes if they, like I said, they pinch you, you pinch them, or you bite them, or you do certain things, but because it's about teaching the lesson. And a lot of times people don't really understand what they're doing to you a lot of times until you do it to them, right? The next and the last one is the hallucinatory effect, right? Now, we know mirrors create an illusion that this is the real thing, right? That we're looking at, that the mirror is, it creates this image that is the real thing we're looking at, but in reality it's not really the real thing, right? We're just looking at a piece of glass that is reflecting the real thing, but it's a copy of the real thing, but it's not exactly a living thing. It's just a mirror, right? So the hallucinatory effect kind of like does the same thing. Con artists do this, right? This one is called this is the deceiver's mirror, right? Because a lot of people who practice deception use this on you. For example, people set up fake websites. They act like they're realtors. They do all type. They act like they're a business person and they scam you, right? So what they do is they create an image that is exactly like what you see in the mirror, but the mirror is not the reality, right? The reality is me and the reflection is on the mirror, right? So they do the same thing, right? It's almost like the man or the woman that comes into your life and plays the role, plays the position. They're not really that person, but they're acting as a straight out copycat of like the perfect woman or the perfect man based on what they know you like and your dislikes. So they play a role and they deceive you because that's not really who they are. And I said this in my other video, how women play a role when they first come into your life because they watch what you like. If you like sports, if you're into social justice, if you're into anime, if you're into video games, they play a role. Some men do this too, right? They play a role of what you want, but men are not as observant as women. right? So that's why I use women, because women will watch literally everything that you do, and they will take notes, and they'll play the part. So these are the 4 kind of like different kind of mirrors. Now I'm gonna get into like, I'm gonna give you one example from the book, and the example is basically it speaks about when Napoleon, because Napoleon when he was, he was one of the emperors of France. He was the first emperor of France, and whatever, he got locked up. They ended up imprisoning him on the island. He escaped. He came back to France, and he didn't really have a lot of ministers that he could trust. So he trusted this one dude, but this one dude was conspiring against him, right? And so he used to have spies on him. But this dude, what he used to do is Fauci. His name was Fauci. Fauci used to have spies spying on the spies, right? So he was always one step ahead, right? So he kind of like neutralized. So he used all the things to his advantage, right? Because he was able to act like he thought the same way that Napoleon was thinking. He really did for the most part, because he knew he was spying on him, so he would spy on the spies, so he could be, so he kind of like did the neutralizing effect that I explained to y'all. He also did the mental one, right? Which is kind of like, which is the narcissist effect, right? So he thought like he thought. He did the physical thing. He mimicked his behavior. So it was kind of hard for Napoleon to prove what he had done. He could have killed him, but then he would have been looked at as an unjust, like you just killed him for no reason. So he didn't really kill him, but he was trying to catch him red-handed, right? And he couldn't, because this dude was swift. He used the mirror effect. Not only did he Napoleon wasn't able to read him because he used the neutralizing effect. And he also played him because he used the mirror on his psyche, right? So this is just the power of the mirror effect around those. First, you give people the feeling that you share their thoughts and their goals. Second, if they suspect you have ulterior motives, the mirror shields you from them, preventing them from figuring you out. And eventually you will infuriate them. Like I said in the beginning, y'all remember when we was younger in school and people do the mirror effect? They kind of like mimic you. They kind of like repeat what you repeat, and they get mad at you, and then they go, they wild out, they go crazy. Like if somebody be like, you ugly, well, you ugly too. Your mom, you get what I'm saying. You remember this in childhood. I remember it, right? Like when we were young and people mimic you, we hated that. It get us mad. It get us to usually act out of character, right? So that's kind of like the same way that this kind of works, right? That's why it says by holding up a mirror, it says you infuriate them. So it says when you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. The mirror effect mocks them and humiliates them, making them overreact. So that's just, hopefully I explained it in a good way. But let me know what your thoughts are on the video in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. Peace.